I will now introduce to you another group of protostome animals that include the mollusks, which have the clams, oysters, squid, octopuses, snails, slugs, and a lesser-known group called chitons, as well as annelids, which are the segmented worms, including the marine worms, earthworms, and leeches. Both groups belong to a subkingdom of animals called Lophotrochozoa. Members of this group differ from Ecdysozoa, the subkingdom of nematodes and arthropods, by not shedding their outer integumentary layer as they grow. So let's get started with phylum Mollusca, which is the second largest animal phyla after the arthropods with 75,000 species, making up almost a quarter of all marine species. Mollusks are all classified based on having soft bodies, with most species producing a protective shell. Mollusks' body plans are diverse, but they all seem to have the same basic features: a ventral muscular foot for movement, a visceral mass containing all of the organs, and a mantle which produces the calcium carbonate shell, except in species that don't, like slugs. Most mollusks, except clams and their relatives, have a feeding structure called a radula, which helps scrape food off of surfaces. Mollusks are coelomates, but the coelom is reduced to a cavity around the heart. The mantle cavity is a multi-purpose space for housing the gills, anus, sensory organs for collecting food, and secretion of gametes. Most mollusks have an open circulatory system similar to arthropods, where organs are bathed in blood. However, squid and octopuses have a closed circulatory system where blood is enclosed in a series of hearts that move blood across the body. There are 7 classes of mollusks, but I will focus on 4 of them as the other 3 contain fewer species. First is class Polyplacophora, known as the chitons, which have an 8-plated shell that allows the animal to curl up into a ball to protect the vulnerable ventral surface. They breathe utilizing gills along the sides of their ventral surface and feed using a radula to scrape algae off of rocks. Class Bivalvia includes the clams, oysters, mussels, and the oh-so-delicious scallops. All members contain 2 shells that open to reveal the soft-bodied animal. All bivalves are filter feeders and important to the cleansing of the water in their respective ecosystems, including interior portion of the United States and the rivers. Since they do not scrape off food, the radula is lost in this group. Some oysters and mussels can deposit and secrete nacre, forming a pearl. The purpose of this is to rid the animal of foreign material, but we humans take advantage of these pearls in jewelry. Bivalves are also an important food source for humans and animals. Class Gastropoda include the snails, slugs, conchs, and whelks. If a shell is present, it is usually coiled in shape. The visceral mass is actually twisted in this group to allow for the entire body to enter into the shell for protection. They utilize a radula to scrape food off of surfaces. And like bivalves, gastropods are another food source for people and animals. Les escargots. Perhaps the most interesting and oddest of animals are those in class Cephalopoda. These include the nautilus, cuttlefish, squid, and octopuses. Look, biologists own the word octopus. We don't say octopi like them grammar folks tell us to. We say octopuses, cactuses, and fishes. With the exception of nautiluses, cephalopods have a reduced or entirely absent shell. This allows for more flexible and greater movement. Cephalopods also have specialized cells that allow them to change color quite rapidly to help them camouflage with their surroundings. All cephalopods are predators with well-developed eyes, just like ours, a complex nervous system, and a closed circulatory system, meaning that blood is enclosed in vessels, just like us. The foot is modified into tentacles used to swim and capture prey. The complex nervous system makes cephalopods one of the most intelligent invertebrate groups on the planet, with memories and learned behavior. And this next group is phylum Annelida. This phylum consists of the true segmented worms. The key feature of this group is metamerism, or true segmentation, meaning the repetition of body parts. This is found in annelids, arthropods, and vertebrates. Our vertebrae is an example of this. Over 16,000 species have been described, which include the marine worms, the earthworms, and the leeches. These animals are found in marine, freshwater, and soils. Annelids have bilateral symmetry with repeated ring-like segments. These segments have repeated structures both inside and outside of the worm. The advantage of metamerism is the ability to compartmentalize the body systems. So if any part of the worm gets cut off, it can kind of protect the other areas. But it also makes movement much more efficient. The cuticle is a generic term for the outermost layer in Lophotrochozoans. It does not shed with growth, but grows with the organism. Unfortunately, the cuticle is very thin and more prone to injury. Most annelids have setae, which are bristle tips that help anchor the worm into the ground. In polychaetes, or marine worms, they have an additional parapodia as appendages with a setae on the edges of the parapodia. The digestive tract includes a mouth, pharynx, a crop, which stores food, a gizzard, which grinds that food, and intestines to absorb food, and an anal opening to get rid of waste. Most annelids have a closed circulatory system where blood remains in blood vessels. Two main blood vessels are the ventral and dorsal ones, with transverse loops that allow exchange in between. There are several aorta, but people commonly call them hearts. Gas exchange is done by diffusion through the skin, which explains the slimy texture, especially in earthworms, as you have moisture is required in order for gas exchange to occur. This also limits them to aquatic and habitats. Excretion is done by a set of nephridia found in each segment, and this collects nitrogenous waste, allowing the worm to release those wastes through the skin. So what are the different types of annelids out there? There's two major classes, Polychaeta, known as the marine worms, and Clitellata, which includes the earthworms and leeches. Earthworms have a clitellum, which is a visible band located towards the anterior of the body that secretes mucus to help bind to another worm to mate. Earthworms are monoecious, having both male and female components, so when mating, they fertilize each other's eggs. After fertilization, the clitellum becomes a protective cocoon for the eggs. And earthworms have reduced setae, but feel bristly when you rub your fingers on the worm's ventral surface. The setae help it move in the substrate. Leeches lack setae altogether and are considered predatory worms that suck blood and bodily fluids. And while earthworms have segmentation both internally and externally, leeches have lost the internal segmentation, allowing for the body to swell in size as it fills with the prey's blood. Polychaetes, or marine worms, are found in saltwater environments and differ from earthworms by having highly visible setae. Many have these setae attached to leg-like parapodia or extensions from the side. Tube worms have modified parapodia used to collect food particles in the water. They can retract the parapodia into the tube if they feel threatened. We've now covered the bilaterally symmetrical triploblastic protostome animals. Whew! Now we will jump to another branch of the evolutionary tree of animals by looking at the deuterostomes, first observing the echinoderms and early chordates, which is our phylum.